Welcome everyone to the Tuleyome Nature and You lecture series for July. My name is Bill Grabert. I'm your host this evening for Tuleyome, and we are fortunate to have Tuleyome's very own Executive Director, Sandra Schubert, speaking tonight. Sandra brings decades of experience as a strategist, counsel, and governmental affairs and program director at the state, local, and federal government levels on a variety of environmental, natural resources, and agricultural issues. She began her work in Washington, D.C. after receiving her master's in philosophy and Juris Doctor from the University of Colorado Boulder, and moved on to work for nonprofits and government. Ms. Schubert was counsel for Senator Harry Reid, Majority Leader of the United States Senate, advisor to United States Senator Barbara Boxer, Environmental and Public Works Committee member, Director of Government Affairs for Environmental Working Group, taught at Georgetown University Law School, and returned to California to become Undersecretary of the California Department of Food and Agriculture. Opened her firm Schubert Legal Strategies and teach at California Polytechnic University, San Luis Obispo. She was on Tuleyome's board for a couple of years before she became executive director. So the topic for tonight is the Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument. It's a topic near and dear to everyone at Tuleyome, and I hope it's something that you guys are really interested in because it's a very interesting place. So with that, welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to do a screen share, so give me a second because I'm not always the most technologically savvy person on earth, as Bill will tell you. Okay, let's see. Is it working, you guys?
It looks great. It's perfect.
Yay. Okay, let me do one other thing so I can see you guys. Okay, so first of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us. As Bill said, I'm the ED of Tuleyome. I don't know what you guys know about us. I recognize some of the names on the call, but I just wanted to speak a little bit about our Tuleyome itself. Tuleyome is a Lake Miwok Indian name that means deep home place. And it really represents the connection we feel to our community and our sense of place. And that community is, for us, larger than just your family or the city you live in, but it's the entire place in the region you live in. So Tuleyome's, all of our on-the-ground projects, our educational programs for K-12, our outings, camping, wildflower tours, stargazing, wilderness first aid, and our land conservation and stewardship work, from trails work to mercury mine cleanups and all that work is done within the footprint of Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument in the intercoastal ranges. We do go outside the National Monument footprint. We do advocacy that is based on the principles we hold here, and we work on many of those issues. So that's how we get to the issue we're talking about tonight, Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument. So this is, as you can see, it's one of the signs. We were very happy to see it up. So I want to talk to you about both Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument and then Malak Loyo, which is Patwin for Condor Ridge and is colloquially known and commonly known in the area as Walker Ridge. There's a lot going on here. So I'm gonna we have a small group, so please do put questions in the chat, but I am gonna ask Bill, if it stays a small group, maybe interrupt me if it looks like the flow is going well. So I'm gonna start out by giving you guys a little bit of background on the monument, and then go in greater depth about Malak Loyo and Condor Ridge. So one of the questions I wanted to start with, because I was talking to a friend of mine about this, they were like, I hear about national parks and monuments and this. What is the difference between a national monument? Why is it different than a national park? Why are you guys pushing for a monument? So we have different types of federal public lands that protect lands for different purposes. So parks are supposed to be special places. Wilderness areas are natural states, roadless areas. You can't have roads through wilderness areas, national forests or forests and grasslands, historic trails, wild and scenic rivers. Those are obvious. National monuments are areas that are protected for natural, historic, or scenic interests. And it's really important that we focus on that, because those are really the attributes that we see in both Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument and Moloch Loyak. I do want to just give a figure. So in California, about 40% of California's lands are public lands, either federal or state lands. We are not the biggest state. Nevada has about 84% public lands, and Alaska is pretty high up in there also. So I assume a lot of you guys are familiar with Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument. I'd ask for a response, but I don't have many faces, so I'm guessing you guys are familiar. So I'm going to try to go through this fairly quick. I do want to talk a little bit about it for in case folks aren't familiar with it. So our monument was established on July 10th. 2015. It had its 7th anniversary this year. It comprises 330,780 acres of public lands in the heart of California's intercoastal ranges. It was established through a presidential proclamation by President Obama under the Antiquities Act of 1906. It is an old act. And it was established, and this is from the proclamation, in order to preserve its prehistoric and historic legacy and maintain its diverse array of scientific resources, ensuring that the prehistoric, historic, and scientific values remain for the benefit of all Americans. I've got the map up here of the monument. As you can see, right, it goes all the way. I mean, it's huge if you look at it, right? It extends 100 miles from north to south. I'm going to do another slide here. 100 miles from north to south. It goes from, it's anchored in the south by, sorry, this is the wrong slide. I'm sorry. It is anchored in the south by Cache Creek Wilderness Area. It goes below that in the north by Snow Mountain Wilderness Area. It is actually one of the most untrammeled places in California, and that's just because we don't have a lot of roads going across it. When you think of the Sierras and stuff, they have a lot of roads. So this is a view from south of Moloch Loyak. I wanted to give people a sense of the beauty of the place. You're not going to see a lot of words on the pages I'm showing. So President Obama, when he established the proclamation, this is what he put in it. The Berryessa Snow Mountain area is the heart of Northern California's wild intercoast range. Once covered by ocean waters, it is a landscape shaped by geologic forces of staggering power overlain with bountiful but fragile biodiversity. Anchored in the north by Snow Mountain's remote forests and in the south by scenic Berryessa Mountain, this area stretches through unbroken wildlands and important wildlife corridors, a mosaic of native grasslands, picturesque oak woodlands, rare wetlands, and wild chaparral. So it is the home to the headwaters of the Eel River, the Stony, Cache, and Puda Creeks. This is a picture of Cache Creek Wild and Scenic River. It is protected because of its values of its scenic values and its water values. It is geologic wonder. Snow Mountain was formed 145 to 149 million years ago during the Jurassic period. As my friend Bob Schneider would tell you, it's a dynamic and thrilling walk through our geologic history. It's we see time right before us at Berryessa. I'm going to talk more about a little bit about geology when we get to Moloch Loyak, but not a lot. This diverse geology allows for an abundance of diverse, unique landscapes and microclimates. These landscapes and microclimates lead to an amazing biodiversity. These are 3 rare species in Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument. The monument is known as a biological hotspot for rare species. It is also a place with significant cultural history for Native and Native American sites. For at least 11,000 years, many tribes including the Yuki, the Nomlaki, the Patwin, which are include the Yochadihi Wintun Nation, the Pomo, the Hochnam, the Wapo, and Lake Miak have lived in this region. There is a range of ancient settlements, and this is known as one of the most linguistically diverse areas in California for Native Americans. Many of its areas are truly untrammeled and yet accessible for those who make the effort. This is Snow Mountain Wilderness Area. This is Cache Creek Wilderness Area. You're probably asking what's been happening in the last 7 years since the monument was established. Well, frankly, not as much as we'd like. Unfortunately, there's not enough resources for the agencies, lands managed by Bureau of Land Management and U.S. Forest Service, to do everything that they want. Congress did increase funding for 2023, which is good, but it's probably not enough to do everything we want to do. One of the other things that we need to do is we need a monument management plan. That should have been done years ago. And that is a land scale plan for the entire monument that will manage the monument and all of the values and the interests within it. And it is required actually in the proclamation. It says, for the purposes of protecting and restoring the objects identified above, and there's those things we mentioned earlier, the secretary shall jointly prepare a management plan for the monument. So there's good news. There's plans to move forward on management planning. There's been some funding that has come in. We'll talk a little more about that, but now I really want to turn to Malakloyuk. If I can make the page turn. There it is. So Malakloyuk, I put I'm forgetting the expression, the phonetic spelling in there because it is a harder name. It is known today as Walker Ridge. It was historically known as Condor Ridge. It is part of the historic habitat area of the condors. They're being re-released into California, and there is a hope. And actually, it's very hopeful that they will reestablish themselves up on Malakloyuk or Condor Ridge. This area, in case you don't know, is located a little west of the junction of Highway 20 and 16. It's in both Lake and Colusa counties. It's an amazing ecological treasure. It was not included in the original monument, but there are efforts underway to change that. So since the mid-2000s, I'm going to show you a lot of beautiful pictures while I'm doing this, so you guys really get an understanding of what we're talking about here and how beautiful this place is. So since the mid-2000s, Tuleyome, California Native Plant Society, Cal Wild, and a huge coalition of groups have worked to protect Malakloyuk. On our path to establishing the monument, we started with trying to get the entire area, including Walker Ridge, established as an area of critical environmental concern. We tried doing a national conservation area, then we got the monument. Malakloyuk was not part of the monument when it was established. California Native Plant Society, supported by Tuleyome and other coalition partners, has petitioned twice to have Malakloyuk established as an ACEC, an area of critical environmental concern. I believe the first petition was in 2008. So this is a long-term effort to protect this area.
Can you explain why it wasn't included originally?
Well, so Colusa County was not originally included in the legislation because the Colusa County Board of Supervisors had passed a resolution opposing the establishment of the monument. So when it was established, all of Colusa County was pulled out, except for the Colusa County portion of Snow Mountain, because the Forest Service wanted it included because they said it doesn't make any sense for us to manage part of a wilderness area as a monument and part not. So that's why it got pulled out. Our understanding is it was a dislike of public lands, perhaps a misunderstanding that people didn't understand that the lands were already public lands. We weren't taking private lands, and then some hope that there would be some wind energy development up on the ridge. That's our understanding. So the landscape of Walker Ridge is itself unique. It's much like the monument, but it does have its own features. It supports many habitats. So the entire area is approximately 14,000 acres. It supports many habitats, including chaparral, grasslands, forests of pine and cypress, oak woodlands, areas influenced by serpentine soils, which are derived from the ancient seafloor. Here's another picture. There's some blue and gray pines that dot I'm trying to show you some of the different habitats that dot the wilderness area. It has a rare geology that tells a historical story that began, as we talked about, hundreds of millions of years ago. There is one spot on Walker Ridge where you go over, it's about 100-yard walk on the ridge. You cross through 3 different tectonic plates, right? As my friend and one of the board members and founders of Tuleyome, Bob Schneider, likes to say, you've just walked through 150 to 170 million years of history. You're just right there in it. It's 3 different tectonic plates. And then there's, of course, metalliferous chert, which if you ever hang out with Bob, you're to learn about. But this is chert that bubbled up from below the oceans from hundreds of millions of years ago and now sits atop Moloch-Loyak. Right, it is the geology is amazing up there because of the way the different plates came in and just formed it. It is one of the most important areas of rare serpentinite rock. It's our state rock. Serpentine soils and plant habitat in the state. They support. I've seen figures 27 or 28 rare plants. I was in a meeting with BLM today, and they said it was 28. 11 of these are globally rare or endemic in California. That means they're not anywhere else. In fact, Moloch-Loyak is renowned among botanists for its plant diversity and its rare plants. It is the Chinese purple houses. Those are absolutely glorious. You can see how beautiful it is and the wide variety of wildflower plants. It's also known to be one of the most astounding places for viewing wildflowers that there are in the state. This is Wildflowers in Bear Valley, which is backed by Condor Ridge. And if you guys ever want, and you haven't been on our wildflower tours, we do wildflower tours in April, and they're absolutely amazing. So I encourage you guys to look out for those. We do Bear Valley, we do local tours in Woodland and Walker Ridge. They're just amazing. I've done them and they're phenomenal. So this map was done by California Native Plant Society, and it shows you where the rare species are. I know you can't read that code, but all these are dots of rare species. And just so you know, this area here, that's the part that's going to be included in legislation. This part is not. We'll talk more about that in a sec. So as you can see, there are abundant rare species throughout the ridge. The ridge is also home to many species of wildlife, including imperiled wildlife. There's bald and golden eagles, badgers, peregrine falcons. It hosts 16 amphibian species, 80 species of, no, that's wrong. I'm going to not say that one because I can't even read my own notes. 46 of California's 106 species of dragonflies and damselflies. It's a recognized wildlife migration pathway for a multitude of species. If you remember our map that we looked at, right, Moloch-Loyak connects Cache Creek Wilderness Area to Mendocino National Forest. It's a very important pathway. And it's interesting. I'll show you a trails map in just a second. It was also an important trading area and pathway for Native Americans. So Moloch-Loyak is steeped in thousands of years of rich history and is culturally significant to numerous Native American tribes. The Hill Patwin, the Pomo, the Wapo, and the Lake Miwok in general. Now, this map that you're looking at is a village and trail map that shows approximate routes of, they call them interregional, intertribelate, which I like that word, trails and major village locations. So you can see on Walker Ridge, this is the ridge in here. It not only were there villages and locations, it was a major trading route for the tribes in the area. Walker Ridge Road is likely originally was a Native American trading route. So currently, Moloch-Loyak is under management planning is designated for industrial scale renewable energy, while BLM denied the last the last permit, this is the footprint of the proposed energy proposal on the ridge. As you can see, it goes all the way up the ridge. It would have included 42 turbines on 2,272 acres. They would have had to do grading the road, widen the road to 100 feet in some places. They would have had to cross over into Land and Water Conservation Fund easements, which is not legal. And they would have probably had to condemn some other easements, including one of Tuleyomy's, and because we were not going willingly. So that, I want to pull this map up against a couple maps we've seen already. So this is the footprint of the wind energy proposal. This dark area under here, that's the footprint of the wind energy proposal also. As you can see, it would devastate trails, Native American trails and villages. So it goes right along the ridge, and the ridge here in the native species goes here. It would also devastate native species. And clearly by going on the top of the ridge, it does impact wildlife connectivity. And again, this is all for an area that has been designated low to moderate wind potential, right? But even though it's designated as that, companies keep knocking at the door. There have been 6 wind energy proposals thus far, but that isn't the only threat, right? This map that you're looking at now is OHV use at Walker Ridge or Malakaloyo. The black line, that's the legal trails. All the orange lines, those are the illegal OHV routes up on Condor Ridge right now. Most of those are due to fire breaks, and then people are opportunistic and they go on them. But as you look at that, you can see that that is tearing up cultural resources, natural resources, wildlife migration pathways, and it is an issue that needs to be dealt with. Part of the problem with dealing with this, I always say, is it's sort of benign neglect. We like our partners at Bureau of Land Management and U.S. Forest Service. They've been great to work with. They are just understaffed and under-resourced. One of our jobs in the public is to make sure they get more funds and resources. They've started doing a lot of work out there to stop the illegal OHV use, but I'm leaving this up there for a few so you can really see. I mean, that is devastating. So we had a meeting today with the BLM Director Tracy Stone Manning. She was out from DC and visited a couple of sites and came to Malakaloik and met with us and a member of the Yochadihi Winton Nation. And we showed this map to her. And you could see that there's a level of surprise. Like when you see, actually, it's one thing to walk on the land, it's another to get an aerial view of the massive nature of the impacts. So what are we doing, right? More beautiful picture so you see how gorgeous it is. Well, we have to protect this rugged and amazing place, and actions are being taken to protect it. So in January 11th, Representative Garamendi and Thompson introduced the Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument Expansion Act, HR 6366. On April 13th, Senators Padilla and Feinstein introduced a companion bill, S-4080, that is identical in every sense, except it has a sentence that says it doesn't affect fire management on the ground. The only reason that was put in is because there was a person in the House of Representatives who apparently didn't understand that fire management wouldn't change. So they just wanted to get rid of that argument. It actually doesn't change anything on the ground. And this legislation is moving. On July 14th, HR 6366 passed as an amendment on the National Defense Authorization Act off of the floor of the House of the Representatives. On July 21st, just a week later, S-4080 passed out of the Senate Energy Natural Resources Committee, unanimous consent by voice vote to pass both pieces of legislation, got bipartisan support, which is amazing in this day and age, right? So what do the bills do? What it does, this is a map of from the actual legislation that Representative Garamendi did. I'm going to explain what it does real quick, and then I have one other map, and then I want to go into Q&A. So what it would do is expand the monument to include 3,925 acres of monument adjacent BLM lands. So that is, oops, these guys, right? It would include only Lake County BLM adjacent lands. Now, this portion is also monument. This portion is Walker Ridge non-monument. Okay, I'm going to show you. It would also require the agencies to enter into cooperative co-management management agreements if requested by a federally recognized tribe. That is historic. It is the first time in legislation it would actually require co-management or co-stewardship if requested by tribes. It is happening on the ground, but we like the fact that it's required because we are concerned that as administrations change, things get unwound. And we think it's really important to take the knowledge that our Native American partners have and move with it. It renames the entire ridge to Malak Loyuk in honor of the Patwin. The Yochadihi Winton Nation made that ask of them. They also made the ask for the cooperative management. And then it requires the BLM and the U.S. Forest Service to complete a monument management plan within 1 year of enactment. As I said, they haven't done their management plans yet. Just so you understand, U.S. Forest Service is acting off of a 1994 management plan, 28 years old, and BLM is acting off of a 2006 management plan, which is only 16 years old. So not quite as bad, right? So they're really outdated. If you think of all the knowledge we've gained just on fire and climate in the last several years, much less in the last 28 years, they really need to be updated. And they need to be updated as one. We need landscape scale comprehensive management. So this is another map. There's some color problems with it, I noticed earlier. I want to give you guys this. So if you look at the pink outline, that is all the footprint of Malak Loyuk or Condor Ridge. The blue portion in here is what is part of the legislation. This portion is already part of the monument. This portion will still be BLM land, but not part of the monument, right? So that's the whole of Malak Loyuk. I wanted you guys to have a sense of the whole of it. So what's next? Well, there are 3 passes of the legislation, and I'm happy to talk about them more if you want to, but do want to take questions. One is passage on the floor. That's most likely not to happen as a single standalone bill, but possibly in a package of non-controversial public lands bills. They are looking to do something like that. I'm always skeptical about floor passage in the Senate, I'll be completely honest. And I spent 15 years in DC, so I feel like my skepticism was well earned. They could pass it through an omnibus appropriations package, and that would mean most likely National Defense Authorization Act sometime in December. It's a must-pass bill, so all the things they can't pass in other places, they put on there. And they call it a Christmas tree, actually. They start piling things on. That's a possibility. And then the third possibility, if we can't get it through Congress, is to go to the Biden administration and ask for an Antiquities Act proclamation by President Biden. So we are working with a huge coalition. The coalition is led by the Yochadihi Winton Nation, and there's a bunch of NGOs that work with them. Some of the primary ones we work with are Cal Wild, California Native Plant Society, Conservation Lands Foundation, Great Old Broads for Wilderness, Sierra Club. They've been at the table with all of us. We are getting ready probably in the next week to launch a new website that will focus on this campaign and the efforts so that there's one place to go. We have a sign-on letter that has over 50 organizations. It's diverse. We have veterans group, we have Latino groups, we have conservationists. We also have, in support of it, we have the Lake County Board of Supervisors. We have mayors and county board of supervisors and business folks, adjacent landowners. Tuleyome is an adjacent landowner. We are supportive of it, as are 2 other adjacent landowners, 2 in Colusa County. So we've got a wide swath of support for this. At the hearings, the Bureau of Land Management is supportive of this. Forest Service is supportive, although they want a little longer than a year on the management plan. So we have widespread support for this. We feel confident, we all probably watch the news, so we know there's a problem getting stuff passed through the legislature, through Congress. So we're doing what we can do through that way, and then we're also contemplating, if it doesn't go that way, do we talk to the president about maybe doing an Antiquities Act proclamation. So there's a lot of exciting things. We met with BLM Director Tracy Stone Manning today to express to her some of our thoughts about it. It was a very productive meeting. She was very interested in hearing about it and asked some good questions. Senator Padilla's staff is hoping to come out and do a tour of the area with us. We're trying to arrange tours for other folks. We feel really good about the progress we're making, but we have a long way to go. So that is my conclusion. Really need to protect it. I want to thank you guys and then open it up for questions.
All right, bye, everybody. Hope to see you at another event.
Night all. Thank you for joining us.